causes are working, complementarily to bring about situation. So we talked about this, and it was very interesting that the Lord is already there in the heart as a super soul. And when we desire something, the Lord witnesses our desires because it's the closest person to us. The Lord is very close to us, is in the heart. And immediately he sees, he understands all our desires. And he responds to the innermost one of our desires. So he fulfills, just like helping the child to lift the weight. The child desires. The Lord sees the desires. Then he helps to lift the weight. He facilitates the desire through material nature. And material nature acts, sometimes bewildering the living entity in that action, and sometimes opening his eyes, sometimes knocking him on the head, sometimes kicking him from behind, sometimes pushing him from behind, sometimes dragging him from the front. So in this way, these three causes are active. So we have to be careful with our desires. We have to refine our desires. These things are actually happening to everyone. But for one who becomes a yoga yukta, as we said before, a yoga yukta is one who knows that Krishna is the owner of everything and who has understood how to work for the pleasure of the owner of everything and who is working in that way. It's a yoga yukta. For that, his intelligence is purified, his mind is purified, and his senses are also controlled. So he engages in selective activities only for the pleasure of the Lord. But so as a person is not bewildered, naturally the Lord facilitates his desires, and his desires bring about auspiciousness to him and to everyone around him. But for one who is not a yoga yukta, who has not arrived at that position of self-realization, he's being tossed here and there. Sometimes he suffers, sometimes he enjoys, sometimes. So that is the situation. So these verses are addressing how the ayukta, one who is not yet a yoga yukta, they are trying to point out to him how he can become a yoga yukta also. And if one becomes a yoga yukta, he becomes a yoga yukta by practicing niskama kama yoga. And when one becomes a yoga yukta, he has already started the path of liberation. So this is where we are going. This particular session, verses 16 to 29, they are talking about how the Niskama Kama Yoga achieves liberation. So this is where we are. This is where we are. How the Yoga Yukta, how the Niskama Kama Yogi attains liberation. Now let us read the verses. Verse 16. Gyanena tuta da gyanam yesam nasitam atmana tisam aditya vajgyanam prakasayati tatparam. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. We explained before that when you do Niskama Kama Yoga, that means actions in Krishna consciousness, acting but giving all the result to Krishna, not acting for personal gain, acting without attachment to the results. We found before that kind of action gives liberation. And this is a continuation of that. The yukta acts with attachment to results, and it gets bound. But the ayukta, the yoga yukta, it acts with detachment and it gets liberated. So this is where we are. What kind of situations does the Yoga Yukta experience? What kind of knowledge he gets? That knowledge of his real identity and his relationship with the Supreme. When he gets that knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. In the night, there is darkness. And therefore, you need electricity and this and that. And people complain when there's light out. But during the daytime, the sun illuminates everything. And you can see everything clearly. You see? So that is how the sun of knowledge dawns in the heart of the Yoga Yukta. And the Yoga Yukta is now on the path of liberation now. And this verse is saying that when, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Somebody should read the purport.
Purport. Hare Krishna. Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Shravanam Gyanam Plavena Gyanagni Sarva Karmani, and Nahi Gyanane Sadrsam. Knowledge is always highly estimated. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna, as is said in the 7th chapter, 9th verse. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavan Mam Prapadyate. After passing through many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him. As everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime, the living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, when he unceremoniously think himself God, he actually falls into the last snare of nescience. If a living entity is God, then how can he become bewildered by nescience? Does God become bewildered by nescience? If so, then nescience or Satan is greater than God. Real knowledge can be obtained from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. For Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away all nescience, as the sun drives away darkness. Even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not this body, but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the supersoul. However, he can know everything well if he cares to take shelter of the perfect bona fide Krishna conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one's relationship with God only when one actually meets a representative of God. A representative of God never claims that he is God, although he is paid all the respect ordinarily paid to God because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn the distinction between God and the living entity. Lord Sri Krishna therefore stated in the 2nd chapter 2:12 that every living being is individual and that the Lord also is individual. They were all individuals in the past, they are individuals at present, and they will continue to be individuals in the future. Even after liberation, at night we see everything as one in the darkness, but in day, when the sun is up, we see everything in its real identity. Identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So that is it. This particular knowledge, when gotten, it illuminates the hearts. Just like you and me, we are direct example of this. When we got knowledge of Krishna consciousness, we are not this body, we are spirit, souls, part and parcel of Krishna. We started functioning on that platform. We began to see everything clearly. We began to see everything clearly. Those who are not following Those who are not in Krishna consciousness, we see that their life is completely misdirected. Those who are properly in Krishna consciousness, we see how their life is properly directed. And we ourselves that are practicing, we also started to experience the cleansing. We started experiencing our heart getting cleansed. That's why we are attached to Krishna consciousness for many years. We remain there because there is nothing else, nothing beyond that. Even our gurus, imagine intelligent people like Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness British Swami, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, when they got there, there's nowhere else to go because this is the ultimate knowledge. Nothing else could stop them. They were not satisfied anywhere else until they got to this knowledge. When they got to this knowledge, they stopped. And as they practice it, they begin to realize it, then they have nowhere to go. They decide to represent it. This is how it is. It downs. When one becomes a yoga yukta, begin to see God in the center, working for his pleasure, and getting his intelligence and his mind and senses purified, he sees that there is nothing else apart from Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he stops there and he begins to practice. And as he practices, so he gets a direct perception of the self by realization. And he continued to be, and he had nowhere else to go. You see? This is how it is. It is something very beautiful. And this is what is being said here. That when the ayukta, one who is non-devotee, who is not in consciousness with in harmony with the divine, becomes cleansed within the heart, immediately he sees things so clearly, just as how the sun lights up everything in the daytime. And at that time, he begins to see himself as an individual. He sees the Lord as the supreme individual, and he sees the process that connects them as also eternal. And he begins to function on that platform. So it is that kind of realized knowledge coming on the platform of goodness that cleanses the heart completely. And when the heart becomes completely cleansed of all misgivings, that means of all misunderstandings about who is who and what is what, then his knowledge lights up everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime, even more. That means from early morning, it begins to graduate into afternoon. So this verse graduates into the next verse. The next verse will tell us more of such a person, one who has arrived at the doorstep of this transcendental knowledge, that the Lord is one of the causes, material nature is another cause, and the individual soul is also a cause. And that the individual soul is the primary cause by dint of his desires. And that the Lord only fulfills his desires. And material nature is just an instrument in the hand of the Lord. Then everything becomes very clear to him. He is gradually going towards liberation from all material bondage. That is it. Now, another way to analyze how knowledge leads to liberation is as follows. That there are three doers. The living entity is doer number one. If he has knowledge, he realizes that all bodily activities are automatically carried out by the three modes of material nature. Therefore, the modes are the doer number two. The modes consist of inert matters. However, thus they simply carry out the activities which are desired by the living entity. The modes are instruments in implementing the desires of the living entity, but under the direction of the Supreme and sanctioned by the Super Soul. The activities are sanctioned by the Super Soul. Therefore, the Super Soul, who only sanctions, can be called the third doer, number three doer. So we become enlightened by accurately understanding the interrelationship between the living entity, the three modes of material nature, and the Super Soul. And this knowledge, such knowledge, it removes ignorance. It wipes off the ignorance that have been keeping us in the dark since time immemorial. And when ignorance is removed, then the living entity takes shelter of the Super Soul. and his path to liberation becomes open. You see, his path to liberation becomes open. Then when that happens, that is the next verse. When he starts the journey of liberation in this way, what then? What next? So number 17. Tad Budaya stad atmanas, tanis stad parayana, gajanti apuna abritim, gyana niriduta kalmasa. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. We are going to see how Niskama Kama Yogi will attain liberation. Purports.
Purport.
So what is the purport? Yes.
The supreme transcendental truth is Lord Krishna. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the version of all Vedic literature. Parat Tattva means the Supreme Reality, who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the last word in the Absolute. There is nothing more than that. The Lord says, Muta Parataram Nanyat Kinsid Asit Dhananjaya. Impersonal Brahman is also supported by Krishna. Brahmano he practiced taham. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the Supreme Personality. One whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna, or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness, is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. A Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity of individuality in Krishna, and equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the path of liberation is now open to a Niskama Kama Yogi, which is you and me, who are trying to become cleansed of all misgivings, who are endeavoring to work with detachment from results in the service of Krishna. We are going deeper on that road of liberation. That here, it said that after one achieves knowledge that he is different from his body, knowledge which is born of the mode of goodness, because from the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. That is Satwam Sanjaya now. To achieve liberation, he must become fixed in the Supreme. That when we learn that the Lord is impartial, is equally disposed to all, is situated in the heart, and we fix our intelligence, when we fix our intelligence on that quality of the super soul, the Lord in the heart is equally disposed to all, is impartial, then our sins are destroyed. That knowledge destroys our sins, both the current one and the ones on the seed platform. Then we become purified. And ultimately, we transcend the material modes. And that of the impartiality, and what of the impartiality of those who transcend the material world, we are going to learn about that. Because when we become cleansed of misgivings, and we see that we are all eternal spirit souls who are actually part and parcel of God, then we begin to see that all living entities are spirit souls. This is very advanced level. A neophyte will not understand this. But for one who has gradually evolved on the path, we eventually arrive at seeing the super soul or the soul in every living entity. And when one attains that, naturally it becomes humble, it begin to respect every living entity, and they begin to see the Lord residing in the heart of every living entity. And therefore, he will not want to do harm to any living entity. He will want to actually do to others what he will want others do unto him. Then he begins to see how everybody else who is not on that platform of knowledge or realization is suffering because of ignorance. Therefore, he wants to help them come out of this ignorance. He begin to develop overflowing compassion within the heart. That what am I living for? When all these people are in ignorance and just, swimming in the ocean of ignorance. Why don't I dedicate myself to try to bring them out as much as I can bring out? So he dedicated the rest of his life for that. Yes, because his vision changes, his power changes, his emotions, everything changes accordingly. They say, oh, people are suffering because of ignorance. And ignorance can be removed by this kind of activity, Niskama Kama Yoga. Let me help to engage people in this activity and educate them about the goal of life. They can get their face fixed in the Supreme. Then they can also gradually become cleansed and they will become like me. And when everybody starts to see things clearly as they are, this world will become a better place for us. So in this way, his Baba changes, his Baba and his vision changes. Then he wants to become a living sacrifice for God. So the next verse is going to show us that progressive level of realization, what it will lead to, how it will enable us to see things clearly as they are and see every living entity beyond the body. Beyond the body. That is the point we will reach when we say that, oh, why should I knock down a cow? Why should I knock down a goat? Because the goat also have children. And the children would like to live with their father. I love my children and I'm trying to live with my children. I will fight anybody who come and intimidate my children. So why am I going to participate in knocking down a goat and go and eat the flesh? If somebody does that to my own children, will I like it? Then it develops compassion, and that overflowing compassion wants to enable him to want to preach to others. So he just dedicates his life for raising the consciousness of people. Then he has arrived. So let us practice Niskama Kama Yoga continuously. And we said that we should not be quick to wanting to be seen as great devotees, but we should be focused on remaining as good devotees. A good devotee is one who practices these self-control, these regulations on daily basis with patience, consistently. He's not thinking of how he can be seen as a great devotee. He wants to just be a good example of one who is following these, regulations of human life. The chanting is following all in sadhana seriously. Any opportunity he has to render service to sadhus, he does it. And when he has opportunity to render service to the guru, he does it. So he dedicates his life for doing this and just trying to be a good devotee. When you become a good devotee, the Lord will see that goodness in you. And when the Lord sees that if he grants you greatness, that greatness is not going to become an obstacle to you, then the Lord will now grant you the greatness. If you are desiring greatness, the Lord might decide not to grant you, because if he grants you at that time, everything will turn to pride. And the pride is an obstacle on the part of your devotion. So to protect your devotional service, to keep you steadily devoted, the Lord might decide to delay the so-called greatness we are looking for. He looks at you and sees that when you get this greatness, it is going to be an impetus for you to become a better devotee. Then he now grants you. So what will make you remain a steadily good devotee? That's what the Lord will grant you. That the Lord will maintain that. And when the time comes, you don't need to tell the Lord to make you great. The Lord himself will make you great. So rather than focusing on becoming great devotees, we should focus on becoming or remaining good devotees. And the Lord will eventually graduate us to the next level. So this is it. This is it. And here I say, one whose mind, in the purpose, one whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna. Or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings. When misgivings are washed clean, then it will be in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. That a Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity, and individuality in Krishna. And equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. We are already on the path of liberation. But on that path, there are so many ghosts. So many ghosts are hanging. The ghost of false pride, the ghost of conceit, the ghost of fault finding, the ghost of superiority complex. So many ghosts are there. The Lord will guide the intelligence of one who is steadily devoted, who is fixed in doing what he's supposed to do on daily basis. The Lord will grant him that steadiness and take him through without seeing those ghosts on the side of the road of liberation. So anyway, before we go into the next verse, we want to recognize the presence of His Grace Madhava Murari Prabhu after long absence. He nearly abandoned us, but Krishna kept him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tembo devotee, Hare Krishna Acharya Ji.
All glories to you. You are welcome. We recognize your presence. Your Madhava Murari was the one who took us for us in very powerful Vedic tune for us at the beginning. And when he disappeared, we all felt his absence. And he has appeared once again by the mercy of the Lord. So you are welcome.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Welcome.
Jai Prabhuji.
Can you knock the next sloka for us? Verse 18.
Prabhuji, I'm sorry, I don't have my guitar here, please. If it can be displayed, I will do it.
A soldier without weapon, that means you are still on the battlefield. You are just trying to squeeze time to come and be part of it. You should maintain, okay? You should maintain. Okay. Raghu Pati Baba, knock the sloka for us. You also our youngest sloka star.
Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavyastini Suni Chaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, into bracket, outcast.
Read the purpose.
The purpose. A Krishna conscious person does not make any distinction between species and castes. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view. A dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme. For everyone's heart, the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned, in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living entity as a friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma, regardless of the circumstances of the living entity. The Lord as Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahmana. Although the body of a Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same, the bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the supersoul within the body are not the same spiritual. Sorry. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the supersoul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the supersoul, however, does not make them equal in quantity, for the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and supersoul are that they are both conscious, eternal and blissful, but the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the supersoul is conscious of all bodies. The supersoul is present in all bodies without distinction. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna, thank you. So this realization is arrived at by the progressive Niskama, Bhagavad Arpita Niskama Kama Yogi. One who is steadily acting on the platform of detachment to the results, constant meditation on the Lord, and with devotion, acting for the pleasure. When one is acting in Krishna consciousness, that is meaning. Such a person is progressive devotee on the path of liberation. So that person eventually will come to realize that we are all spirit souls. Whether one is in the body of a cow, whether one is the body of a brahmana, whether one is the body of a dog, whether one is in the body of an elephant. What is within the body is a soul. And not only that, there is the super soul also in the heart of all living entity. So seeing the super soul in all living entity, he offers obeisances to the super soul in all living entities. So don't be surprised to see a very advanced devotee offering obeisances to cow, offering obeisances to dog, offering obeisances to to snake, offering obedience to elephants, embracing dog, embracing cow, embracing lion. Pure those Mahabharat devotees. They can do that, and nothing will happen. Nothing. Because those living entities, the snake will not feel that it is coming to antagonize him. Therefore, snake will just wrap around him and hold him tight in a hug. And after remove himself and begin to walk away. Or lion will just offer obeisance. Whereas someone else will go and offer obeisance to a lion, and the next time he will not live to offer any other obeisance again. So the pure devotees will not pretend. they actually seize the soul, in the super soul in every living entity. Even when you offer obeisances to Guru, why does the Guru also offer obeisances back? Many of the Gurus, you offer obeisances to them, they also offer you back. They are not seeing you as a Mandava or Purushotama. They are seeing the super soul. And therefore, they also offer obeisances to you. This is the level. And such a person, he doesn't see the mood of God. The dog is in the mood of ignorance. The elephant is in the mood of passion. The cow is in the mood of goodness. He sees beyond these modes, and he sees the soul and the super soul. And this is because of his steadily devoted Niskama Kama Yoga activities. And therefore, he has been granted that knowledge by the super soul, that realization by the super soul. His theoretical knowledge has become realized knowledge. Therefore, he sees everything and every living entity as the same. He sees Krishna in the heart of every living entity as a super soul. Therefore, he respects everyone. That's why it's called a humble sage. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hasine Surincha Ivaso Pakecha Pandita Samadarsana. He saw a person is called a Pandita. And his darshan, his vision become equal vision. You see, he doesn't see the body, he sees beyond the body. He sees only the super soul and the individual soul, and he relates to them accordingly. Such a person, he sees everyone else as pure devotee except himself. So his life is full of humility. But as preachers, they say preachers used to come down to the level of Madhyama and Hikari so that they can see the difference between one who is not yet Krishna conscious, then he tried to bring him on board to Krishna consciousness. So this is a very high level of realization. So the Niskama Kama Yoga is attaining, self-realization. And this is the purpose. How we attain self-realization is the remaining, is what continues until the end of this particular chapter. So thank you very much for this. We are all expecting that very soon some of us will also become true pandita, learned panditas. I don't know how we are going to practice it. We will not be able to preach again. But since our gurus are still preaching, even after attending that, we also learn how to maintain the balance and still continue to preach, even after attending that. But that is the path we are in. Our compassion will overflow, and we can no longer bear to see the suffering of others. And we are all going to come to that. So in other words, true knowledge refers not only to knowing the difference between the matter and spirit, but to also knowing the super soul. That the learned person sees that the super soul has impartiality, or has impartially sanctioned the desires of all living entities. That all these living entities who have become dogs, cats, goats, snake, and everything, they were not like that before. Most of them, some of them were in human form before. But by the aggregate of their desires and activities, they have become snakes, they have become goats, they have become cows. And the Lord actually sanctioned their desire, because when he aggregated their desire, that is what they qualify to become. And we should be very, very careful also. Now that we're on the path of Krishna consciousness, we should refine our desires so that such a fate will not reach us. Because see, this is very, very important, because all living entities in all species we are seeing, it is the aggregate of their desires in a particular lifetime that is being presented, and the impressions they carried. The material nature give them a particular body that they desire, with a particular type of nose, with a particular type of eyes, with a particular type of ears, with a particular type of mouth. One is given the mouth of a goat so that he can enjoy chewing everything. One is given the mouth of a cow You know how a cow will just split its mouth to crash grass like this, quack, 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 quack. You know, the mouth is going like this, grinding. It's a particular mouth it deserves in a particular lifetime. At the end of the whole lifetime, everything was aggregated, and that is what he got. So we should be careful. Though those who are in the path of Christ are saved, we cannot go below human form. But generally, this is how human beings became like that. Some human beings became goats. Some human beings became fowl. Some human beings became a snake. Other human beings became squirrel. Material nature gave them particular type of eyes, particular type of mouth, particular type of nose, particular type of ears, particular type of legs, particular type of anus and genitals. No, in accordance with what they deserved. So we should be careful to act on the platform of Krishna consciousness so that we gradually get higher bodies and not lower bodies. So that is it. Anyway, we had a promise that for those who have become Krishna conscious, Neha Bikramana Susti, Ratia Vayo, Na Vijati, Swalpam Api Asya Dharmasya, and Trayate Mahato Bhayati. That we can never be demoted to lower forms as long as we are on the path of Krishna consciousness, even if we don't perfect our lives now. So we narrowly escape that one. But let us help others to also escape by preaching and dedicating our lives to educating others. That is it. It's okay. Vijaya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavyasini Sunichaiva Swapa Kesha Pandita Samadarsina. So let us see what next. We are still on the devotees who are on the path of liberation. Verse 19. Purushotama Yatra Prabhu, read verse 19 for us.
Ihaiva Gita Sago, Yesam Sam Yesitam Mana, Nedosam Samam Brahma, Tasmad Brahmani Kesika. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Purport. Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the state of equanimity through realization of self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So, equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is a sign of self-realization. That means the soul is advancing more on the path of self-realization. And those who have actually attained such a stage they should be considered to have conquered material conditions, especially birth and death. So when one becomes steadily situated in that consciousness, what is the consciousness? Sameness and equanimity. That means they can be experienced on the platform of Brahman realization, Paramatma realization. These are real level of understanding, not just theoretically, but realizing that we are all eternal spirit souls and that the Lord is in the heart of all living entities. Those who have attained that level, they are called panditas. So these panditas, some of them are Brahma Vadis, some of them are Paramatma Vadis. You know, some of them are Brahma Vadis, some of them are they are also called transcendentalists. But still, Bhakti or the Bhaktas are the highest transcendentalists. Okay? Because the Paramatma Vadis, they see the super soul at work. And they see that the super soul, the Lord is situated in the heart as the super soul. And impartially, they are sanctioning the desires of all living entities. And these Paramatma Vadis, they understand that because everything is occurring by the will of the Lord, because the Lord is sanctioning everyone's desire, on the platform of the super soul. That is the realization they have. And thus, he remains calm. He remains calm. And a devotee of Krishna recognizes everything that happens to him as Krishna's kindness. And everything, therefore, increases his devotion. For one who is a devotee, he sees the Lord as in the heart of every living entity. At the same time, he goes on to realize that everything that is happening by the will and approval of the Lord, just like the Paramatma Vadis. And therefore, he engages in his devotional service unconditionally. No matter what happens, the devotee, the Bhakta knows that it is Krishna's sanctioning. If Krishna has not sanctioned it, it will not happen. Whatever happens in his life, whatever situation he experiences in his life, he sees that Krishna has sanctioned it. That's why it is happening. Therefore, nothing affects his performance of devotional service. He does not become morose because of situations. Therefore, he cannot chant again. He cannot participate in his activities. Unconditionally, he does his devotional service because he has learned how to see the Lord in every situation and every situation in the Lord. So he's steadily situated in his devotional service. And such a person, it is said that the kingdom of God is actually his rightful inheritance. Anything that happens in his life, even if it is accident, if he experiences accident, he knows that, I would have gotten more, maybe it would have been more ghastly, but the Lord has reduced it to maybe a small fracture somewhere, just to remind me that, yes, we are in the material world, therefore, let us increase our devotion. Everything that happens is an impetus for him to increase his devotion to God. And that is the level that we are expected to arrive at as Bhaktas. A Krishna conscious person is therefore trained to see the activities, the hand of the Lord in every damn situation, every situation. And for such a person, in other words, he has attained equanimity of mind. And just as Srila Prabhupada said in the purport, such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. So more of the symptoms of a liberated person, one who is liberated in Krishna consciousness, are described in the next series of verses. It's a continuation. So now Prarishyat Priyam Prapya, that's verse 20. No Vijayat Prapya Cha Priyam Stira Buddhi Asa Mundo Brahmavid, Brahmanisita. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. So why should you read the purport, please?
Purport. The symptoms of the self-realized person are given herein. The first symptoms is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to his body. This steadiness of mind is called stira buddhi, or self-intelligence. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body of the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of the absolute truths, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. He does know his constitutional position perfectly well, without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization or self-realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is the advice for the sadhakas. The sadhaka is he who is practicing how to become a pure devotee. You and me, we are sadhakas. We are sadhakas. We are practicing devotees. And this is the way we should act. We should act with equanimity of mind. We should act with the desire to becoming a stira buddhi, one whose intelligence is fixed in equanimity. That means neither happiness nor distress. We oscillating, we will be steadily situated. We have to endeavor to become steadily situated in Krishna consciousness. That means we should be, our intelligence should become fixed, that nothing happens outside of God's sanctioning. Therefore, rather than becoming disturbed, we should fix our consciousness in Krishna. Then unconditionally, we should practice our devotional service. Nothing should make us to feel that devotional service has become boring and devotional service is not sweet again, and that things are not happening the way I expected. This is not what I expected. There is this, there is that. No, it has to go beyond this lower level of getting affected by people's behavior, getting affected by how issues have been attended to, managerial flaws. We should not become affected by source. Rather, we should become steadily situated in our Krishna consciousness so that unconditionally we do our duties. Okay? Why? Because first of all, we realize that we actually know these bodies, but we are spirit souls. And our spirit souls, our eternal duty is to serve Krishna. And that understanding, nothing should take it away from us. Yes. And therefore, we should be joyful. We should not become overjoyed when we attain something, or we become distressed. No, so we become distressed when we lose something, or when we don't achieve what we are looking for. We have to see the hand of the Lord. We have to train our heart to see the hand of the Lord in every situation, so that unconditionally we remain devotees. You see? And this is there is one sloka in Bhagavatam that define this position, that Bhagavatam 10:14-8. Tate anukampam susami samanu bunjana hivatma kritam vipakam Pridvagvapubi vidadam namaste jiveta yomuki padesada yavak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your costless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for he has become his rightful claim. So we should become steady, not that things will not happen. Not that everything will just go smoothly because we have started doing devotional service. Challenges and temptations will come either through our own consciousness, either through our mind, our intelligence, either through other devotees, either through the environment. But none to affect our focus. We should try to see through and see the hand of Krishna in every situation and do our services unconditional. And that is how these are symptoms of one who is called a stira buddhi, one who has become fixed in his intelligence. We have to practice how to become fixed in our intelligence. You see, we have to practice how to become fixed in our intelligence. If we become thus fixed, nothing can sway us on the path of Krishna consciousness. We remain devotees unconditional. It's a sign that we are making advancement. This is one of the signs that a sadhaka is making advancement in Krishna consciousness. He becomes fixed in his consciousness. Okay? That is where we are expected to arrive at. Yes. Number 21. Bayasparsesu asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukam sabrama yoga yuktatma sukam aksayam asnute. Such a liberated person is not attached to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the supreme purpose.
Sri Ramanujacharya, a great devotee in Krishna consciousness, said, Yat avadi mama cheta Krishna padaravinde, nava nava rasa dhamani udatam rantum ase. Tad avadi bata nari sangamne smarayamane, bhavati mukha vikara sustu nistivanam cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. A person in Brahma Yoga or Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure altogether. The highest pleasure in terms of matter is sex pleasure. The whole world is moving under its spell, and a materialist spell or cannot work. A materialist cannot work at all without this motivation. A materialist cannot work at all without this motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with greater vigor without sex pleasure, which he avoids. That is the test in spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. A Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sex pleasure, sense pleasure. due to his being a liberated soul. A Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being a liberated soul. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So that is it. A devotee is expected to use his intelligence to constantly reject sense gratification, and instead you should seek pleasure in the Supreme. That the degree to which he replaces sensuality with spirituality is the measure of his success. That means constantly opportunities for sense gratification will present themselves. But a devotee who is on the path of Krishna consciousness, who is on the path of liberation, should constantly reject those opportunities for sense gratification. And to the degree he's able to replace sensuality with spirituality, to that degree is successful. His success is measured by how much he's able to replace sensuality with spirituality. That means there is always an option when opportunities for sense gratification present themselves. The choice is there for you to accept it or reject it. So a devotee, as a matter of determination, should constantly reject that opportunity for sense gratification and embrace the opportunity for spirituality. He should weigh the advantages and the disadvantages and go in for that which is more beneficial. This is the way. That means in devotional service, temptations will always come. Opportunities for sense gratification will always present themselves. But when it happens like that, we should be able to choose spirituality over opportunities for sense gratification. We should practice this constantly. Constant practice and by detachment. It's difficult, but constant practice. So that is the advice here. Those opportunities will come, but when he weighs the advantages of remaining spiritual as against the advantages of the immediate pleasure, that sense gratification that will give very little pleasure, instant pleasure, pleasure that will evaporate just very soon and turn into distress, then he should choose the spirituality over the immediate sense gratification. Constantly, the temptations will come. And even the more you try to restrain from sense gratification, the more the temptations will come. And when they present themselves, you should constantly choose spirituality over immediate sense gratification. And at the degree to which you are able to do that, to that degree, you remain spiritual, or you are considered successful. That when the devotee becomes connected, or when the devotee becomes a yoga yukta, connected with the Supreme, he experiences unlimited happiness. And simultaneously, he loses all attraction for matter. The Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura comments that just as a person eating sweetmeats has no inclination to eat mud, so a liberated person is not attracted to material sense gratification. In the next two slokas, Krishna tells Arjuna why sensual desires are foolish. First of all, constantly we should be fixed in our determination to reject opportunity for sense gratification and embrace the opportunity for spiritual advancement. Constantly, that means we be conscious. Sense gratification opportunities will come, but we should constantly reject them in favor of choosing that which will be more spiritually beneficial. Then in the next two verses, the foolishness associated with embracing sense gratification against spiritual advancement will be enumerated. This is a very simple. We have 4 regulatory principles, for instance. This is a practical faith. No illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no meat eating, fish or eggs. Every day we see people who are drinking alcohol. And sometimes they constantly, our friends, try to lure us into taking alcohol. They call you all kinds of names in order to bring you to join them. But you should constantly choose not taking the alcohol against taking the alcohol. Constantly reject their projections. Some of them are even testing you to see whether you are serious in what you are doing. They don't believe that as you are doing those things together, now you can stop doing those things. They don't believe it. So they want to test you. That's why they are presenting those allurements. Both in meat eating, fish or eggs, you say you are vegetarians. Are you vegetarian? We cook very nice meat at home today. Or we go to party, or they kill some animal and they cook and they brought plenty meat for us. Why are you torturing yourself? You are suffering yourself by not eating this, by not eating that, by not eating. What have you achieved? They try to talk you out of it so that you can become like them. You should constantly reject. By the same token, gambling, illicit sex, opportunities will always come, but you should constantly reject. So that is it. The test will be there, but you should constantly reject. And that is the measure of your advancement. That when the devotee becomes a yukta, okay, yeah. In the next sloka, in the next 2 slokas, Krishna tells Arjuna why sensual desires are foolish. We will stop at 24. So now we are in 20. We are in 22. Yehi samprasaja boga dukayo naya evate adi antavanta kunteya nate suramate Buddha. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Somebody should read the purport. Volunteer to read the purport. Already all your videos are off.
Purport. Material sense pleasures are due to the contact of the material senses, which are all temporary because the body itself is temporary. A liberated soul is not interested in anything which is temporary, knowing well the joys of transcendental pleasures. How can a liberated soul agree to enjoy false pleasure? In the Padma Purana, it is said, Brahmante yogino anante satyanande chit atmani iti rama padena sau param brahma vidiyate. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the absolute truth, and therefore the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is also known as Brahma. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also 551, it is said, Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kastan kaman ahate dvit bhujam ye tapo divyam putraka yena satwam sudet yasmad brahma sukam to anantam. My dear sons, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasure. While in this human form of life, such pleasures are available to the stool eaters, hawks. Rather, you should undergo penances in this life by which your existence will be purified. And as a result, you will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. Therefore, those who are true yogis or learned transcendentalists are not attracted by sense pleasures, which are the causes of continuous material existence. The more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material miseries. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is
So,
it.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Uh-huh.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
In
Krishna.
Bhagavatam, this 551,
Yeah.
I learned somebody who was instructing the children. Please, can you
Yes.
help us know the person, please? Hare Krishna.
Lord Sabadev.
Okay, yeah, Hare Krishna.
Lord Sabadev, yes. So this is a very serious thing. We should constantly choose sense control over sense gratification, because they are just as that text reads, my dear sons, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasure while in this human form of life. Such pleasures are available to stool eaters, hogs. Rather, you should undergo penances. Tapo Divyam Putraka Yena Satwan. You should undergo penances in this life by which your existence will be purified. And as a result, you should be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. So we should choose Tapo Divyam over sense gratification, because those opportunities for sense gratifications are available for cats and dogs that is too. Illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, flesh, all those things are available for cats and dogs. So why should one engage or indulge in human form of life in pursuing those pleasures, temporary pleasures? Rather, we should focus on tapo divyam, transcendental austerities, controlling the senses, chanting rounds, waking up early in the morning instead of sleeping like how, just engaging in spiritual activity. We should constantly choose spirituality over sense gratification. This is the purpose. That a sadhaka needs to fix this principle strongly in his intelligence. Sense gratification equals misery. This is a principle. Sense gratification equals misery. And a sadhaka, a practicing devotee, should fix this very deep in his consciousness. Once you are putting your hand in sense gratification, you are attracting miseries. Yehi samprasaja boga duka yunaya evate adi antavada kunteya na tesu ramate Buddha. The intelligent man does not delight in that. The intelligent man does not delight in it. He withdraws, constantly withdraws, because sense gratification equals suffering. This is the principle. Sense gratification equals misery. That a sadhaka becomes free from the material moods by a combination of intellectual conviction and higher taste. When our intelligence is sharp, is sharpened by discrimination from the scriptures. When we are determined to stay steadily situated in fixed, in determined intelligence, then gradually cleansing will take place. And we come to realize that yes, we begin to have a higher taste. And that higher taste will now keep us constantly going. We want to continue to experience the higher taste while sharpening our intelligence with discrimination. The scripture said this. This is not what the scripture said. The scripture said if you do this, this is going to be the result. So that is the weapon of discrimination. And we get that through the scripture. We should constantly study the scripture, and we constantly practice spiritual practices over sense gratification. We should control our senses consciously. The result of tolerating sense desires are not succumbing to their pushing is explained below. Even in the nectar of instruction, it is given. The Bacho began, Manasa Kruda began, Jiva began, Mudara Pasta began. That the urges of the senses, we should constantly control them. And one is able to control those urges, can become a spiritual master. So sense gratification and spiritual life, they go heal together. So regulate your sense gratification and maximize your spiritual practices. Then you get the best of the combination. Therefore, a wise man, one who is able to maintain that steadily, is called a wise man. A wise man does not delight in them. You should not consciously go and partake in sources of miseries. Sense gratification are sources of misery. Drive this one very deep into your consciousness as a devotee. Let it go deep that sense gratification equals misery. Therefore, we should regulate the senses. That should be our focus. That is 22. 23. Saknoti Aivaya Sodum Praksarida Vimokshanat Kama Krodo Baba Vegam Sayuktam Sasuki Nara. Before giving out this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated in and is happy in this world. Purpose.
Purpose. If one wants to make steady progress on the path of self-realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are the forces of talk, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of the stomach, forces of the genitals, and forces of the tongue. One who is able to control the forces of all these different senses and the mind is called Gosuamin or Suamin. Such Gosuamin live strictly controlled lives and forego altogether the forces of the senses. Material desires, when unsatiated, generate anger, and thus the mind, eyes, and chest become agitated. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up the material body. One who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is the duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger. Hare Krishna.
So you got the message right. And that's why we say in the Nectar of Instruction by Srila Rupa Goswami, he made this as the number one sloka. Bacho vegam, kroda manasa vegam, jiva vegam, udara pasta vegam, etam vegam yo bisa etadira, sarvam apimam pritivim sasisiat. That a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demand, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So this is the beginning of spiritual life, and this is the end of spiritual life. To control the urges of the senses. And a devotee should be desire. One who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is the duty of the transcendentalists to try strenuously to control desire and anger. It is the duty of the transcendentalists, to try strenuously to control the desire and anger. So let us control our desires. Desires are the seeds. Desires are the seeds And we all remember the 8 stages of fall down start with contemplation. While contemplating on the object of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. From such attachment, lust, desire. Lust arrive. From lust, anger. From anger, delusion. Delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And once intelligence is lost, one falls down into the wild pool of material existence. So that desire, we should constantly control it. We should control our desire, because the Lord is actually there in the heart to fulfill our desires. So why should we desire something that will be detrimental to us? We should control those desires. When the urges come, enter into our mind, we should throw it out. We should be ready constantly to throw out the desires for sense gratification and replace them with tapo diviam, transcendental austerities, studying the scriptures, chanting our rounds, eating only prasadam, not engaging in unnecessary talks, not over-endeavoring for mundane things. We should constantly regulate our lives with discrimination. Let's constantly use our energized intelligence to protect our devotional service, to keep ourselves on the track of devotional service. And in that way, we will remain happy unconditionally. So constantly choose self-control over sense gratification. We should constantly choose spirituality over immediate sense gratification. Why? Because the intelligent man, one who has become sober, he sees that sense gratification is the source of misery. It is the source of all sufferings. Therefore, if you are intelligent, you are seeing where the gate to suffering. Don't open that gate, because once you open and enter, sufferings will just greet you in different ways. Suffering will hold your legs, sufferings will hold your hand, suffering will come and stamp you, and in any form, it will come and lure you into deeper and deeper suffering. So we should be very, very careful, constantly, consciously careful about choosing spirituality over sense gratification at all times. As sadhakas, practicing devotees who want to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, let us constantly choose spirituality over sense gratification. This is the purport of this verse. That is 23. Amen. How long will we have to tolerate the pushings of the mind and senses? Sometimes someone may have, if I can control all the senses and maybe only one remain, I can allow one. Will that be dangerous or is that desirable? Follow 3 regulative principles and leave the 4th one. Is that desirable? At least I'm following 3. 3 can overweigh 1. And let me be gratifying one of the principles first. Is it advisable? Therefore, Bhagavad Gita said no. 267. 267 said, as a boat on water is swept away by strong winds, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Indrana hi charatam, nyan mano anu vidyate, tadasya rati pragyam, vayu navam ivam base. That as a boat on water is swept away by a strong wind, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Therefore, don't try. It's not safe for you. So that is it. We should practice this. How long will we have to tolerate the pushings of the mind and the senses? How long? Am I going to practice this for a whole lifetime? Does Maya give up at any time? Or after Maya see that you have tried for some years, will Maya give up on you and stop tempting you? One day, do we wake up liberated, free from the impediments caused by the mind and senses. Is one day we just wake up and become free. The mind will not disturb us. The same gratification will not bombard our mind again. Is it possible? Maya will leave us alone one day. This verse answers that sense attraction must be tolerated until death. It's not that I've tolerated sense gratification for 5 years or 20 years, 30 years. So will there be any time when this urge for sense gratification will just leave me alone and I become free from desire for that? He said, no. Maya is consistent. So you should be consistent in tolerating the urges until death. Until you change your body, continue to tolerate the urges of the senses. This is the answer. We can remain tolerant by fixing our consciousness on Krishna. That is, how can we remain tolerant for a whole life? We can remain tolerant by fixing our consciousness on Krishna all the time. Doing the 9 processes of bhakti, doing some service, thinking of Krishna, talking about Krishna, telling others about Krishna. The pleasure of Krishna consciousness combined with the conviction that nothing in this world can bring lasting happiness. That kind of understanding will help us tolerate the pushings of the body and the mind. The pleasure of spiritual realization is the topic of the next verse. The pleasure of spiritual realization. That is the topic of the next verse. So if material pleasure is constantly haunting us and we are told to continuously tolerate it, then we should be, if we are replacing lower pleasure with higher pleasure, if we are experiencing something better, that will help us. So the pleasure of spiritual realization, is the topic of the next verse, verse 24, and we stop there 24. After this, after we read 24, we stop there for today. Verse 24. Yo anta suko anta ramas tatanta joti evaya sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto adiga shati. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Somebody should read it. Prana Priya Mataji, are you there? Prana Priya Mataji, are you there? Oh, this is one of the tricks. You on the video and you are not there at all. You just on the video down to create illusion. No, you off the video to create illusion. So that when we think that you are there, but in actuality you are not there. Is that what you are doing, Prana Priya Mataji? If you are there, we provoke you to reveal yourself so that we can know that actually you are there. Otherwise, you make us believe that you are not there in actuality. Are you there or not? We can conclude that Prana Priya Mataji is not there. It's apparently there, but not really. If you are there, reveal yourself, prove us wrong. Prana Priya Mataji is not there. Oh, Krishna. He has created illusion for everybody. Oh, she's not. Isana Goranga Prabhu, you can continue the reading. Now we know that
24 purpose. Unless one is able to release happiness from within, how can one retire from the eternal engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can Therefore, sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desire eternal material happiness. This state is called Brahma Gupta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead, back to home. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we can see that the principle of Krishna consciousness is param driswa nivartante. Param driswa nivartante. That means replacing lower engagement with higher engagement, higher taste. We have a book called Higher Taste. You must experience a higher taste in order to give up a lower taste. This higher taste, you get it by devotional activities. When you do devotional activities, you will relish a higher taste that is coming from within. Those who relish higher taste, they don't look for lower taste externally. The higher taste comes from within. It is churned out of your devotional relationship with Krishna by practicing the processes of devotion, by chanting, by hearing, by serving, by taking prasad, by talking about Krishna. You develop a taste from within. And that taste comes with realization. That's why Sabai Pumsa Paroda Mu. Yato Bhakti Adok Saje. Ahaituki Apratiyata Yayatma Suprasidati. You will get a direct perception of the self by realization. Then that realized knowledge will enable you to remain there. It will replace lower tastes. And this is the principle. That's the proper rise. Unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagement meant for driving superficial happiness? Unless we experience a higher taste, we cannot give up lower tastes. That's why we should be doing the devotional activities. When we do them, the mellow that is churned out of there, that will now replace the lower taste. So devotional service without devotional activities cannot generate higher taste. So a devotee must be active in service. It is from that service that the higher taste will be generated. A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. Yes, the pure devotees, they experience everything within. This is the Anta verse. Anta. Everything is within. He experiences within. He rejoices within. They say, Yo Anta Suko. Anta Suko. Anta Suka means happiness from within. He relishes happiness from within. Anta Suka. Anta Aramas. Anta Arama means is actively enjoying within. Within, no, not without. Within. That means his experiences. He's experiencing joy within. Anta Arama, actively engaged within. And what is active engagement? His mind is constantly associated with the holy name, remembering scriptural injunction, remembering past signs of the Lord, remembering the activities of devotees and the Lord, is active within, as well as antajoti. That means aiming within. His aim is within. He wants to realize himself, want to purify his consciousness. It's within. So anta. Such a person who is enjoying this within, one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. It does not depend on bringing the senses in contact with their objects. Rather, it engages the senses. And this is one of the uniqueness of devotional service. The devotional package is such that while other yogis are negating, avoiding, afraid of using the senses and using their mind, a devotee is trained to utilize his mind and senses in Krishna consciousness. He engages the senses. Yes, the senses are not, they are not left alone like that. They are not ignored. They are not demonized. A devotee engages the senses in regulated devotional activities. Therefore, is able to churn out mellow from within. By constant positive engagement in devotional activities, he relishes a taste that cannot be relished from anywhere else. You see? Such a liberated person, he no longer desires external material happiness. This stage is called Brahma Bhuta. And Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Na Sochati, na Kankshati. Sama Sarvesu Bhutesu. Man Bhaktin Labate Pana. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Na Sochati, na Kankshati. These are the qualifications of one who has attained Brahma Bhuta. He no longer anchors for anything external, and he no longer has any cause for lamentation. But when you are not hankering, there is nothing to lose. A devotee is not interested in all material sense gratifications that is going on, including rolling chickens within some junctions. He's not interested. Is it the beer bar or parties where people go and dance and demonstrate sex? No. A devotee is not interested. Even if he happens to find himself in places like that, he's there to tell people about Krishna, to tell people about karma, destiny, and reincarnation, because he's fixed in that understanding. And by practice, he has realized these higher things. So he has lost complete taste. He has replaced lower taste with higher taste. Therefore, he's not interested. That is called Brahma Bhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back home, back to Godhead. We must get a higher taste. Yes, it is urgent. We must get a higher taste. How do you get a higher taste? By practicing. By practicing, constant practicing. So the devotional activities given to you are opportunities for you to experience a higher taste. How do you handle them? How do you handle your chanting? How do you handle your regulative principles? How do you handle your study of the scriptures? How do you handle your individual daily services? How do you handle your personal intake? But these are opportunities for you to relish a higher taste. And if you are not participating in these activities and you are complaining, you are only bringing yourself out for Maya to overwhelm you. And Maya is formidable. It's very, very strong. No? It is urgent that we experience a higher taste. And we have to hear about Bhagavatam, hear Krishna pastimes, hear Krishna dealings with his devotees on different levels. We hear Bhagavatam. We must hear. We have to chant. And we have to have good association with devotees. Otherwise, we will be unable to tolerate the urges of the senses over time. If we don't do these devotional activities, it's just a matter of time. We'll become overwhelmed and we see ourselves participating in the object of the senses, Samprasaja Bhoga. We'll be participating in Samprasaja Bhoga and therefore plunging ourselves into Dukkha Yonaya. Yehi Samprasaja Bhoga, Dukkha Yonaya Evati. We plunge ourselves into misery. See, because sense gratification is the source of miseries. We must remind ourselves, we must be fixed in that consciousness. And how can we become fixed? By replacing lower engagements with higher engagements. And what are the higher engagements? We should hear about Krishna. We should talk about Krishna. We should taste only prasadam. We should chant the holy names. And we should have good association of devotees. Otherwise, we'll be unable to tolerate the urges of the senses over time. Krishna gives more symptoms of one seeking satisfaction in spirit and not matter in the next verses. So verse 25 to 29 are continuation. and we will deal with that on Thursday. For now, are there some questions or commentaries?
Yes, Prabhu.
Are there some questions? Yes, Prabhu, come on board.
My question is not about the class. It's about, it seems this time you have bring the time back to 9 a.m. Ghana time. And I thought it's 9:30 we used to start, but now it's 9 a.m. Is there any reason for that?
Today we started 9, eh?
Yesterday and today is 9, we are starting.
I forgot to. Me, I even wanted us to start by 9:30 because I was doing some study and I had not completed it, and the time came against me. So I was even thinking, how will I wish we have some 30 minutes. So sometimes we forget. That is why. Sometimes we get confused.
The 9 is clashing with our prasadam honoring prasadam time.
I'm very sorry. Honestly speaking, it is 9:30 I prefer. Well, I needed more time to study something before coming to the class. You see that I was drinking something during the class. I wanted to do all that before the class, but I thought it's 9 o'clock. So sometimes I used to forget. That is why. Okay. It was not deliberate. Maybe the Lord wanted it that way so that we can finish on time and prepare for Sunday class. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for reminding us. So please, the time is 9:30, not 9. We'll take note of that. I think by this I will not forget again. I'm sure. By this I will not forget again. Hare Krishna. Okay. See you on Thursday. His co-founder Charasila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Dr. Elvis, where are you? Dr. Elvis, are you there? Hey, Prana Priya is also there by now. On your videos now, all of you on your video, let us see what you are doing. If somebody is cooking in the deity kitchen also, let us see the person too. What are you doing, Prana Priya Mataji? You are muted.
I was in good ever. I was doing my service. I was not sure.
Okay, you are doing some service there. Okay. Hare Krishna. Dr. Elvis, where are you? Okay. Dr. Elvis, where are you? Elvis is non-existent. Isana Goranga, are you there?
Prabhu, I'm here, please.
On the video, let me see you.
Okay. I'm here with Anantaji.
Personalist. The personalist.
I'm disappointed with your attitude to classes. So.
My phone went off. I joined earlier, but my phone went off. I put it on charge, sir. I'm serious.
Why didn't you charge your phone before the time?
My place, light out.
You should get a power bank.
Yes, sir. I'll do so, sir.
If not that you on the video, I would have considered that you are not in class today.
We are here.
We are here.
See our data. We are here. See our data. Yes, we are here.
So
we are following.
You should practice sense control, okay? Control your mind.
All right.
Scriptural studies.
I'll come and collect sample from you. I want to renounce.
No, renounce your consciousness.
From you.
Do it in consciousness. In due course of time, the class will also.
All right.
Your desire for self-gratification. Control your desire for self-gratification.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Please,
Okay.
I also want to notify the students. Please, our fees is very important.
Okay.
Let's pay our school
Okay.
fees to enable us to pay safely. Hare Krishna.
All right.
Please.
All right, Mataki.
Please, course fee is very important. Those who have not paid and those who have paid, they can still pay again. So that the more you pay, the better for us. So if you come on board, you can encourage us. For patrons. In our patron group. This group will help us to get funds and also encourage us by providing or facilitating whenever we are in it. So, Madam Murad, we are adding you to that group. We are adding you to the. You should add Madaba Murari to the patron group. Sponsors and patron group. Yes.
Okay, problem.
Yes. I remove another. You know,
Okay.
Don't fight for him. I remove him. we are selecting few people for them. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you on Thursday, Haribo.
Hare Krishna.